Hey Lashy Kids and Driving Mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, Mistress of the Snark, and today we're going back to the 80s to talk about One Dark Night. This starts out with the authorities being called to an apartment in which the bodies of a 70-year-old man and 7 teenage girls have been found along with many strange things. Julie, played by Meg Tilly, is trying to join the Sisters, a sorority-type group, but in high school.
Ain't no sister yet, Kitty.
Well, she's passed every test you've given her.
For your information, Leslie, I'm far from finished with her initiation.
They are Robin Evans as Carol, Leslie Spates as Kitty, and Elizabeth Daly as Leslie. I know Elizabeth by her musical stage name, E.G. Daly. I also knew her from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Anyway, Julie wants to prove that she can take the sisters' initiation.
Got to prove I can do it.
All she wants to do is show how weak and chicken you are.
Yeah, and that's all the more reason why I won't back down.
Unfortunately for her, she has to stay overnight in a mausoleum. The sisters try to dress up like ghosts and ghouls to try to scare her, but they all end up having to battle the very real evil of a telekinetic psychic energy vampire. That's what makes this movie stand out, the premise. They could have went with zombies or classic vampires, but they put a metaphysical twist on it by making the villain unique.
Mrs. McKenna, my name is Samuel Dockstetter, and I'm a feature writer for the World of the Occult. Do you know anything about bioenergy? It's the electromagnetic force in all living things. Carl Raymar was one of the only true practitioners of telekinesis in the world.
I used to confuse this movie with the movie Mausoleum because this movie mostly takes place in a mausoleum. It's a very interesting and underrated gem. You go in thinking it's one type of movie, but then it turns out to be a very different kind of movie. It still holds up to me to this day. It still looks great, even though the copy that I watched wasn't digitally remastered. The pacing is perfect. I tell you, 88 minutes is the perfect length for telling this story. New filmmakers, please take note. Is it scary? Well, when I was a kid, it scared me quite a bit, but not so much anymore. Also, I love how the evil was defeated. I won't spoil that part for you. The practical effects still look great. They remind me a bit of the effects from Life Force. I mean, the way the corpses look. There's some similarity between how this looks in One Dark Night and how this looks in Life Force. There was also pretty cool motion effects as well. The actors did an excellent job, and of course Meg Tilly went on to star in many films. But the character that I loved as a kid and still do to this day is Kitty. I love that they gave her the little quirk of chewing on a toothbrush. It's so random and yet relatable to anyone with anxiety. Anyway, I think this is a classic 80s horror movie that I highly recommend checking out. At the time of this recording, One Dark Night was available on Tubi, Plex, Freevee, Vudu, Amazon Prime, and I think a couple other places. Have you seen One Dark Night? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Hey Lashy Kids and Driving Mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, Mistress of the Snark. Happy October 1st, and let's have some fun talking about Poltergeist. This is an MGM and Steven Spielberg production, so you already know they had money and it shows. I love the way this movie opens. The dog goes around the house checking on each member of the Freeling family. This is still the most creative way I have seen a family introduced. And it gets right to the point with Carol Ann slowly coming down the stairs and approaching the TV. Cut to the scenic shot of, as the script describes, is the kind of neighborhood World War II bought and paid for. Which is one of the things that I like best about this movie. It doesn't take place in some old, decrepit, creepy mansion. It takes place in a modern, at least for the 80s, a modern suburban home in a cul-de-sac. And this movie gives us a feel for the neighborhood by showing us different characters interacting, like the father having his buddies over to watch a football game, or Bobby climbing a tree outside. The writing in this is so good. And it's the little things, like when Carol Ann goes from crying about her newly deceased pet bird to smiling and saying, "Can I have a goldfish?" That is so true to life. That's how little kids really are. People really underestimate how resilient children can be. Another thing that I really enjoy about this movie is how the haunting starts with little things, like spoons bending and chairs moving, then escalates fairly quickly to a tree-grabbing Robbie and Carol Ann's abduction to the other side. Or at least it feels like it escalates quickly to me. When I checked the time, it was actually not until 40 minutes into the movie where Carol Ann is abducted, but that whole first act only feels like 20 minutes. And I think it's because the movie is so engaging. And it's at this point in the movie that we meet the paranormal investigators. And this is a really great sequence because it shows how they come in being extremely confident in their abilities to showing them being extremely shook. This part of the movie really makes this stand out from other haunted house movies of that time period, like the Amityville Horror or The Changeling, because it introduces paranormal investigation and treats it like a respected science. Another movie that did the same thing, which was also released in 1982, is The Entity. I like to think that this helped get our favorite paranormal investigators, the Ghostbusters, greenlit 2 years later. The third act introduces a reveal about the neighborhood being built over a graveyard. The graves are said to have been removed and relocated. Then we are introduced to Tangina, who is played by Zelda Rubinstein. She's a clairvoyant psychic medium who comes at the urging of the paranormal investigators to help the Freeling family. Tangina uses Robbie's idea about tying a rope around someone and sending them to the other side to get Carol Ann. They test this theory out first with tennis balls. And is this the first time ectoplasm was introduced in a movie? Speaking of introductions, by the way, this isn't the first time that this concept of going to the other side to bring someone back was introduced in media. There's a Twilight Zone episode in which a father ties a rope around himself and he has to go into another world through a wall to retrieve his child. This works and they get Carol Ann back. They pack and get ready to leave, and just when you think the movie is over and everyone is safe and sound, it hits you with one hell of a finale. Starting with a scene that f***ed up a whole generation, this damn clown doll. The thing is, Generation X had these dolls. Not necessarily the same one as in Poltergeist, but clown dolls were a thing that was popular, especially for grandparents to give you as a gift, and also as carnival prizes. The clown doll I had came from the Big E. While this is happening, the mother is being terrorized in another room. And here is where I think Wes Craven took some inspiration from this movie. Not only having a gravity-defying scare scene using a rotating room, but also having a character have a streak of gray appear after an extremely traumatic event. Also, this push-pull is director goals. Speaking of directors, let's briefly touch upon the whole "did Tobe Hooper direct or did Steven Spielberg ghost direct this film" thing. I'm willing to bet money that the day this push-pull scene was shot, Steven Spielberg was definitely on set, because it's kind of sort of his thing. That said, this right here, this is Tobe Hooper's thing. So I like to look at it as a great collaboration. Another really great thing about this movie is the final reveal that the graves were never moved. Only the headstones were.
Moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones!
And if you think that story's far-fetched, it's not. There's a place called Lake Lanier where this is the case. There's a whole history about a black township called Oscarville that is underneath the lake. To this date, Lake Lanier has claimed over 500 lives. It will straight up assassinate you. Stay off Lake Lanier, kids. Something similar happened to a black settlement that was where Central Park is today. Speaking of curses, some say this is a cursed film. To hear more about that, check out this documentary series on Shudder called Cursed Films. They have a whole episode dedicated to Poltergeist. Or even look around YouTube. There's a lot of great documentaries right here on YouTube. I would be remiss if I did not mention this movie's children. Insidious, which is like an unofficial remake of Poltergeist, and Paranormal Activity, especially Paranormal Activity 3. There are dozens more, but those are the two best children. Some of the effects for this didn't age so well, like the scene with the things floating around the room, but others still look great, like the face effect. Also, this moving stake still holds up. It's better still than any CGI I have ever seen. Another effect that holds up is this scene with the entities floating down the stairs. An added touch that makes this more real is that the actors are lit as though the entities are right in front of them. Another cool thing they added was the wind blowing on them. This makes the moment feel so real. Speaking of lighting, the lighting effects as well as many other effects were done in camera. Also, these skeletons look amazing, and you know why. Well, just in case you don't know why, it's because they were real. The effects for this movie were actually done by a very new company called Industrial Light and Magic. Well, it was new at that time. And as we all know, it's owned by George Lucas, which might be why there's so many Star Wars things in Robbie and Carol Ann's room. The camera work in this is so good. The way the camera moves around the bed during the parents' conversation makes the scene so much more dynamic. This adds so much more to the scene than your typical shot reverse shot. This movie also has one of the best horror scores of all time. You could literally play the score and I could tell you what part of the movie that is. The music was done by Jerry Goldsmith, by the way. I almost forgot to tell the story of when I first saw Poltergeist at the drive-in theater. Now bear in mind that I am the same age as Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann. So I was a little ass kid in the back of a car to drive in watching Poltergeist. Also bear in mind that it was rated PG, so my parents didn't think that it was going to be all that scary because it was rated PG. Now what I remember is the opening to the movie, and then falling asleep, and then waking up and seeing Robbie get attacked by the clown doll, and then falling back asleep, and then waking up and seeing the family at the motel wheeling the TV outside. Since then, obviously I've seen it, oh god, I almost said hundreds of times. Maybe I have seen 100 times. I don't know, but when I was a little bit older, they used to play it on HBO, and then we had it on VHS, and then as an adult I bought it on DVD, and I should probably get the Blu-ray eventually. You know what, I'll just wait until they do a 4K restoration, because they'll eventually do that, and then I'll get that version of it as well. And I have the 2 sequels on DVD. But anyways, Poltergeist is a classic, and you're not going to argue with me on that. I don't care what you say. I said what I said. It is a classic. It's one of the best horror movies ever made, and I'm sticking with that. That's real. One more thing about that clown stuff. I think between this movie, Stephen King's It, and Ronald McDonald, I think that's why Generation X really doesn't fuck with clowns like that. I have so much nostalgia for this movie, and maybe that clouds my judgment on how I think or feel about this movie, but it's a comfort movie for me. At the time of this recording, Poltergeist was on HBO. It's also on Shudder, but I think it's gonna leave soon. Have you seen Poltergeist? And I'm talking about the original 1982. The other one, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen, because that's not a thing that ever existed or happened. So we're gonna, yeah, that didn't happen. Let me know in the comments what you think about the 1982 Poltergeist. And I'm gonna try to make it through this video without having too much of a lisp, because these teeth are making me speak with a lisp. For some reason, I remember this movie and My Best Friend's a Vampire as the same movie. All I remembered was an ice cream truck, someone drinking blood from raw meat, and a dance sequence, but I couldn't remember which movie it was from. I love the beginning of this movie with the vampire's familiar walking through the house adjusting everything. I heard Pretel's voice in my head, and the category is Vampiric Familiar Realness. This character's name is Sebastian, and he makes this movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the Countess is looking for Sebastian, why there's so many S's today, and says, "Sebastian, come out of the closet." He walks out of the closet wearing this gorgeous lounge frock.
Okay, Sebastian. Out of the closet. I came out of the closet centuries ago. Very amusing. Go on, help me.
The Countess's house is amazing. I also like all the references to Countess Elizabeth Bathory, from the main vampire's name to her mentioning Austrian peasant girls. Countess Elizabeth Bathory was a noblewoman and a prolific serial killer. She's actually noted in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most prolific serial killer. At the time of her trial, she was tried for 650 murders, but some say she may have killed as many as 800 peasant girls. She used to have virginal peasant girls brought to her castle where she killed them and drained them of their blood. She would fill a bathtub with their blood and bathe in it. Fun fact, that's where we get the name Bath from. Her name. She believed that bathing in the blood of virgins would make her eternally youthful. And though she may have killed over 800 peasant girls, she only got caught when she messed around and started killing the daughters of local gentry. Gentry are above peasants but lower than nobility. Anyway, the Countess in this movie is loosely based off Countess Elizabeth Bathory, except she goes after peasant boys. Her mansion even looks like a castle. In this movie, there are homages to the Universal Bela Lugosi Dracula movies and also the Hammer horror Dracula movies. Jim Carrey is great in this movie. His facial and physical comedy is gold. Lauren Hutton was one of the most famous supermodels of the 80s. Around this time, they really liked putting models with personalities into movies. Do you remember Kelly LeBrock in Weird Science? Lauren is up there with Iman, Beverly Johnson, and Grace Jones. sort of part of that first wave of supermodels. The second wave came in the 90s with Naomi Campbell, Claudia Schiffer, Linda Evangelista, and Cindy Crawford. And I know somebody's going to say, what about Tyra? Tyra Banks does have a place in history for being the first black model on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and she bounced between different styles of modeling. Her and Christy Brinkley are legends in their own right, but it's a different type of modeling. Tyra is an icon because of her Victoria's Secret modeling, in my opinion. I always kind of separate her and Kimora Lee from the rest because they're just slightly younger, and I feel like they came out more so in the later 90s. I mean, they were modeling at the same time, but they were 13 and 14 when Naomi and Claudia and all of them were grown women. So technically they're kind of part of the same generation of models, but they're kind of not because they're so much younger than the other models. Just look at how beautiful Tyra and Kimora looked. I think they're still friends to this day and still gorgeous. Who is my favorite model of all time, you didn't ask? Naomi Campbell, and her walk is everything in my life. She also walked, blessed Victoria's Secret with her presence. A living goddess. Back to the movie. This was a really fun movie, especially to watch on Halloween. It's a horror comedy. It's written up as a sex comedy, I think. I love it for being the classic 80s horror movie that it is. It's just a fun movie. Have you seen Once Bitten? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. Hey Latchkey Kids and Driving Mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, Mistress of the Snark. And today I want to talk about one of my favorite horror films of all time, Return of the Living Dead. This is also a request review courtesy of 80s Movie Network on Twitter, who says, "Wow, at Horror Freak, your new What Did I Just Watch review and update is incredible. Very impressive production quality too. I want to recommend you do an updated The Return of the Living Dead. Also, don't forget about 80s workout horror." I did not forget about 80s workout horror. As a matter of fact, I have reviewed Death Spa and Killer Workout. But let's get into Return of the Living Dead. Our main characters are Freddy and Frank. They work at Unita Medical Supply, where they sell cadavers and skeletons and split dogs. Then we also meet a group of young people that are Freddy's friends. They are looking for a place to hang out. Frank tells Freddy that Night of the Living Dead was real. It was based on a chemical spill at a VA hospital in Philadelphia. The chemical 2,4,5-trioxin from Darrow Chemical Company leaked into the morgue and reanimated the corpses. He takes Freddy to the basement and...
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
To this day, whenever I hear mention of the Army Corps of Engineers, this is the scene I think of. And that's when the great score kicks in. Remember the people that were looking for a place to hang out? They decided to wait for Freddy to get off work in a nearby cemetery.
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where? Where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back in the park.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck off and die.
These characters are one of my favorite things about this movie. I really like that they are young people, but not necessarily teenagers. There's so many classic moments in this movie. Almost too many to mention, but I'll try. Let's start with Trash stripping down to her leg warmers dancing at the cemetery. And one of the highlights of that scene was Spider's reaction and dancing along with her. Fun fact, the actress playing Casey was originally cast to play Trash, as she was a stripper before being cast in this movie, but she refused to strip, so Linnea Quigley played the part of Trash. There were some rating issues with the first cut of the film, so Linnea Quigley actually shaved herself bare to get past the ratings board. Ironic. Another favorite moment of mine is Suicide sharing his perspective and philosophy on life.
I mean, I got something to say, you know? What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Oh, yes.
Hey, what's wrong with you, man?
I would be remiss if I did not talk about the zombie scenes and the horror icon that is Tarman. First of all, if you know me, then you know that I like to see the zombies rise out of the graves. An effect they don't do much anymore because it takes more effort. Some of these newer zombie movies are lazy. To this day, I have yet to see a zombie makeup as good as the special effect makeup done to create the Tarman. Also, what sells the makeup even more is the actor's movement. The actor playing Tarman did an amazing job. Another iconic moment is when the zombies call for more cops and paramedics.
Send more paramedics.
Did you notice something about that scene? I'm gonna let you finish 28 Days Later, but Return of the Living Dead had the first fast zombies. I cannot say enough how great the practical effects are. Not just for the time, but for any time. They still hold up to this day. Especially this skeletal lady who explains that she eats brains to numb the pain of being dead. I love Spider's reaction to her.
Don't be afraid. I'm busting in the damn head.
This has social commentary too.
We gotta call somebody!
Who?
Hey, I don't want to call no cops. The cops are just gonna kick our ass.
Just let's get out of here, okay?
I keep pointing these things out in movies like this and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes because people who complain about social commentary movies are either abnormally whiny bitches or they just haven't been paying attention. I just wish they would.
Shut up. Shut your ugly old-time ancient ass up.
Horror comedy is one of the hardest genres to nail, and this is one of the few movies that does both beautifully, both the horror and the comedy. At the time of this recording, this movie was available on HBO Max, but I do have a special edition DVD copy. I don't see, it has a little bit of a effect of the hand going up and down, which I really, really like. And it has a lot of special features. Like I said at the opening of this video, this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Oh great, here's your friend and mine.
Hey, fuck you, ball buster.
Hey Lashy Kids and Driving Mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, Mistress of the Snark, and today we're going back to the 80s to talk about Witchboard. This review was actually requested by Sean Harrington a while ago. Thanks for the request, Sean. This starts out at a party, where Linda, played by Tawny Kitaen, who for those of us who grew up in the 80s is most known for this. She actually made Witchboard before she made the Whitesnake music video, but they both came out around the same time, so the music video ended up being excellent promo for the movie. Anyway, they're all at a party debating the existence of spirits. Linda's new boyfriend Jim and her old boyfriend Brandon clearly do not like each other. Side note, Jim's friends are so annoying, especially the dude bro who keeps looking over his sunglasses. It's nighttime, you're indoors, just take them off. You look like a douche canoe. Brandon decides that he can prove that spirits exist by using the Ouija board with Linda to contact a little boy named David who passed away the same day that Ouija board was made. At first, a spirit comes to the board who's not David, so they stop. But they try again, and they end up contacting David. Jim acts like a complete and total jerk, which angers the spirit of David.
Careful, Jim, you're upsetting David. What's he gonna do, haunt me? David, are you all right?
Yeah, he's all right. He's just a little dead, that's all.
Shut up, Jim! David, are you all right?
Yeah, maybe he's late. The last flight back to Limbo.
Prompting him to flatten Brandon's tires. By the way, Brandon's place is the ideal 80s apartment, mixing pastels with black leather. This movie does not waste time getting to the carnage. Remember Sunglass Bro? He gets dealt with first.
You know that.
Employment means nothing to me, pal.
When I say carnage, I just mean deaths. This movie is not gory, but the death scenes are very effective. This movie is what I call slumber party horror, which is a step up from gateway horror. In my opinion, gateway horror is horror for children, like your first horror movie to get you into horror, something like Gremlins or Arachnophobia, whereas slumber party horror is more suitable for middle schoolers or young teenagers. I put this in that category along with movies like Mirror Mirror and Wish Upon. Maybe it's just my nostalgic mind thinking of these movies this way because when I watched Mirror Mirror and Witchboard, I was middle school age and I caught them on cable TV, either on cable TV or they were VHS rentals. I can't remember which, but I remember I was around that age when I saw these movies. These types of movies are great for building up your horror muscles. They're the type of movies that make you feel like a big kid because you can watch them by yourself, alone in the dark, and not get too scared. Linda does something that you're never supposed to do. Use the Ouija board alone. This causes the spirit to target anyone who even comes into contact with Linda. As the spirit continues to mess with people, Brandon calls on Zarabeth, played by Kathleen Wilhott, to exorcise the spirit. She's a spiritual medium who likes to make horrible jokes. I would have loved to cosplay as Zarabeth, but I couldn't handle the jingle jangle jangle of that jacket. Fun fact, I have ADHD hard body karate, and the sounds of jingle jangle jingling can often overstimulate and irritate the ever-loving soul of neurodivergent people such as myself.
It's upsetting me in my home, girl.
I still would love to make the jacket just without all the little noisy parts. The spirit gets Zarabeth in what's probably the best kill of the movie. Linda falls under the spell of the evil spirit, and this forces Jim and Brandon to work together to try to defeat the evil. They actually used to be childhood friends before they both dated Linda, and stopped talking to each other for 2 years. Watching this back as an adult, I'm noticing some character elements that are really cool. We get to see Jim go from being very immature and jerky to more serious and conscientious. We see Brandon go from being condescending and snobby to more grounded and caring. They eventually become friends again, and have each other's back when defeating this evil spirit. I won't tell you how this movie ends because every day someone new is discovering Witchboard, and I want you to still enjoy that ride. As I was watching this, I thought the location looked really cool. Old mansions that have been turned into apartments are always kind of cool to me, unless they're haunted. The house featured in this film is the same one in Waxwork and Willard. It's called the Higgins Verbeek Hirsch Mansion in Windsor Square. That's a mouthful. Also, this movie is called Witchboard instead of Ouija because they didn't want that smoke with Parker Brothers. They still ended up having to pay out $50,000 for featuring the actual Ouija board in the movie. Speaking of Ouija boards, the writer-director of this, Kevin Tenney, was inspired by The Exorcist to make a movie that centered around the Ouija board and the concept of progressive entrapment. There's a cool shout-out to The Exorcist. In one scene, Jim is thrown through a window and it looks like this. See how the camera follows him down to the ground? I think it's meant to emulate this shot from The Exorcist, where also the camera follows him straight down to the ground. Check out the camera work, it's really cool, which was made to pay homage to this shot from Psycho. I love it when horror writers and directors study the classics. As you can tell, I really recommend Witchboard as an enjoyable 80s movie with a really good character-driven story. At the time of this review, Witchboard was available on AMC+, Con TV, Freevee, Plex, Pluto TV, Screambox, Tubi, Amazon Prime, and although it's not listed on here, it's also on Shudder. So basically everywhere. Have you seen Witchboard? What are some of your favorite slumber party horrors? Let me know in the comments. Hey Latchkey Kids, I want to do some more shout outs before we get started. Shout out to, not sure how to pronounce this, but it looks like Prime 0011able. You have to tell me how to pronounce your name one day. Nightwatch and Cyndia Dreamchild. Check out their channels. They make excellent content. Also, this look in this video is inspired by a few cool people that I met on Twitter. And I'm reading off my phone because if I try to go by memory, I will forget somebody. Shout out to 80s Movie Network. Shout out to Goonies Girl, aka 80s Best Time Ever. And shout out to 80s Then, 80s Now. If I didn't mention you today, I'm not overlooking you. I will try to shout out as many people as possible throughout the month. If you can't tell by looking at me and probably reading the title of this video, I will be reviewing Killer Workout and Death Spa. Mostly because I thought these were the exact same movie. In my young child mind, I thought they were the exact same movie. I didn't realize that they were two different movies. They sort of mixed together in my head like Mortuary and One Dark Night. Let's talk about the workout scenes. Number one, the outfits made absolutely no sense. No sports bra. Some people had high heels. Some people had their makeup done like this, which, by the way, took me about an hour and a half to do. Not to mention the hair. That was another, 40 minutes of hairspraying and scrunching. And I learned today from my sister. Shout out to her for helping me with this hair look. I learned how to backcomb and tease. Another funny thing about the outfits in this movie, it takes place on the West Coast, and it says 1987, but it appears to be 1984 on the West Coast when it was 87 on the East Coast, because these outfits are very much 1983, 1984. But it could be another one of those things where they shoot a movie and then they shelve it for a couple of years and then release it. I was in elementary school at that time, so my memory is probably not as good as it would be for someone who was grown at that time. And plus, what do I know? I used to watch Mousercise in the morning at that time. And the 20-minute workout. Do you guys remember the 20-minute workout, which was basically like fapping material? For my younger viewers, if you don't know what the 20-minute workout was, it was an exercise show that would come on at like maybe 5 or 6 in the morning. I just remember it was at a time when I would be getting up and getting ready for school. And it became pretty famous because it was extremely overtly sexual, from the exercise moves to the camera work. Like, the camera work was dead up the girls' hoo-has when you're watching it. And this was on in the morning. Your children can see this. I mean, it was the 80s. Apparently, there's full episodes of it up on YouTube if you're curious. As I said, I was Mousercise age, and then I just realized that I might have to explain what Mousercise is to younger people. Mousercise was an exercise program that came on in the morning on the Disney Channel, where they actually had people dressed up like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, I think maybe Pluto as well, and they would do exercise in the morning with children. So anyway, while I have a memory of the 80s because I was a child during that time period, I didn't get to wear the cool outfits, again, because I was a child during that time period. So now I'm kind of living like I don't want to call it a cosplay because I feel like this is... By the time I got to the age of wearing makeup, it was already in the 90s. So I missed out on the big hair and this style of makeup and the jewelry and all that. The movie opens up with a person getting killed in the shower with the silliest of murder weapons. Shout out to the actress though. She acted her behind off. My point is, she sold it. This movie objectifies everyone. The men, the women, the audience. The manager of the spa was so annoying. I was wondering if the direction she was given was just to act like an asshole. Speaking of objectification, there was guys working out and their shorts were so short I was worried about their twig and berries just dropping out of their shorts. This movie put a lot of effort into the soundtrack. I love how 80s the music was. And most of the songs seem to be written specifically for this movie. We had the closed captioning on, and if you just watch the lyrics, they're hilarious. This is the first time I ever laughed out loud at a murder weapon, and I thought to myself, are they going to use that same weapon for all of the kills? Thank goodness they didn't. They did switch it up enough for it not to be boring. The car roof scene was pretty good, and if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. I won't spoil it. The weird thing is, as people are being murdered, they keep having aerobics classes, and you would think they would shut down the gym. Plus, why are people still going to aerobics classes? Like, once you hear somebody got killed, you might not want to go there for a few days, and then once you hear that multiple people have been killed, you're really going to stay away from there. There's a fight sequence in this that rivals the fight in They Live. Just kidding. It's so long and stupid, and it involves garbage cans, rakes, and some really horrible looking kung fu kicks. but it's the right kind of bad, especially the part with the rake. I thought I knew who the killer was and who the red herring was, but this movie kept on making me change my mind, which is pretty good writing, in my opinion. I like when a movie does that. It keeps you on your toes. There's a lot of stupid in this movie, but it's so stupid that it's fun, especially if you're into gratuitous aerobic scenes. There's a wild reveal that had me like, wow. And it involves some serious body horror. At the time that I watched this film, it was available for free on the FilmRise horror app on Roku. In my opinion, FilmRise plays a lot more commercials when compared to Tubi, but not nearly as much as they used to play on Crackle. I haven't watched Crackle in years, but when I used to watch Crackle, they played way too many commercials. So it's like right in the middle. More than Tubi, not as much as Crackle. Also, the commercials came on really, really loud and the movie audio was really, really low. So FilmRise, you need to fix that. And I also need to mention that the version that's on FilmRise looks like a VHS rip. Like it's not remastered in any way. It looks bad. The tracking hits show up on the movie, and the aspect ratio is formatted for like the big body square TV sets. So expect that if you go to watch this. But all in all, it was a fun experience. I would watch it again. I paired it with Death Spa for obvious reasons. They both have a similar premise. And I'll be back in a minute to talk about Death Spa. Did you notice in Killer Workout that the vandals spray painted Aerobicide and Death Spa on the windows? I just thought that was an interesting coincidence. The music is not as good in this, and the opening scene had a girl dancing to what I perceived to be cop thriller music, and what were the jumps that she was doing? She was trying. Ken Foree is in this, and he is a certified Scream King. He was in From Beyond, Dawn of the Dead. Trying to think, I think he was in Rob Zombie's Halloween, or it might have been part 2. I can't remember whether it was the first one or the second one. But he's been in probably more than that, but those are the 3 off the top of my head. What is this jacket, though? Why did they do this to him?
Never work without a spotter, buddy. Weight falls on your chest and you can really get squashed.
This is wrong. And you know who else is in this? Rosalind Cash, who is a certified Scream Queen. She was in Buckaroo Banzai. I think she was in Tales from the Hood. There was something else she was in. Vanessa Bell Calloway is in this, and she was, you know her from Coming to America. She was also in this smaller known slash movie called Holla Part 2. And this may be the debut of Karen Parsons from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. These movies have a lot in common besides the 80s, aerobics, and gyms. They both involve a person having a tragic accident at a gym where someone gets burned. There's a mystery killer and the motive is about the same. The difference is with this one, this gym is computerized. Also, there's a paranormal aspect to this story, which is very interesting. Killer Workout was a straight slasher movie, whereas this one was more of a supernatural slasher movie. The kill scenes and gore in this are much better than the ones in Killer Workout. Lots of gooey, melting, exploding heads and eyeballs. I love it.
It's disgusting. Ugh. I love it.
This wraps up quickly and to the point. I don't know which one I liked better, but I do think they make a great double feature. If you love the 80s, I would definitely highly recommend both of these movies. Have you seen these movies? Were you grown when you saw these movies? Let me know in the comments your experience of these movies and also of the 80s. Tell me, what's your favorite, if you were around at the time, what was your favorite thing that you missed from the 80s? Mine would be all the music video shows. I would come home from school and I would flip from MTV to BT, and I'm so sad that they don't have clips of Video Soul or Video Vibrations on YouTube. It's a whole experience. I missed that. Although, I mean, on YouTube you can watch any video at any time, but the hosts of the show, I miss the video hosts of the show. But anyways, like I always say don't take my word for it. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. And just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Let me know what you thought of Killer Workout. Actually, it has two titles. It's Killer Workout, aka Aerobicide, and the other one is Death Spot, aka Witch Bitch. Which I feel bad they didn't go with that title. But what did you think of either of those movies? Do you plan on watching those movies? Let me know in the comments. Bye.
Death Spa, an exercise in terror.
A fantastic weight reduction program. People get so thin they disappear.
Special thank you to my patrons. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Reminder to new and returning Latchkey Kids, don't forget to follow me on your preferred social media platform and check the community tab on YouTube for some fun extras. By the way, here are some other videos you might like.